All right. Good evening, everybody. Glad to have you here on our week 4 and final week of Leadership 203. We are in series on or class course, 4-week course on communication, how to speak so people will listen. Tonight, we're going to be talking a little bit about belonging cues, or otherwise known as nonverbal communication. So when you hear me say the phrase belonging cues, that is synonymous with or equal to nonverbal cues. And we're going to talk about that tonight because it's very, very important. 7% of all our communication as human beings is verbal, the actual words we say. 38% is our tone, 55% is our body language and our face. So, as we communicate, we're actually communicating with more than just our words. The vast majority of our words, of our communication is nonverbal. And so, we're going to talk a little bit about studies that have been done. We're going to have a few activities. In fact, we're going to start off with a game here in just a minute that I'm looking forward to. And we're going to see if we can communicate non-verbally with one another. And so we just want to say, wherever you are watching from in the world, we're glad that you're a part. And thank you on behalf of Pastors Joel and Victoria Osteen. Thank you for being a part of the leadership program here at Lakewood Church. And we hope that you get the opportunity, if you haven't had a chance to look at the last 3 weeks, we would encourage you to go back and look at the last 3 weeks. At week 1, we talked about why we communicate. Week 2, we talked about how to communicate and connect in our communication as human beings in the relational sense. And then last week, we talked about really communications like baking a cake. It's like what ingredients go into good communication. What goes into it? Listening, eye contact, asking good questions, what type of questions we're asking. So these principles are good for us no matter what setting they're in, whether it's in relationship, romantic relationship, friendship, if it's colleagues at work, if it's your family at home, if it's people that you go to church with, if it's your life group, whatever it may be, communication between human beings is really constant. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is if we learn how we present our visual image and our vocal image, we can really learn how to connect with people. And in that, there's influence. Transformation happens, connection happens, and that's the way the world goes around. Amen? That's what Jesus taught us, is really using our words powerfully, but also using our expression powerfully. Using the body that God has given us to communicate and connect with other human beings. And ultimately tonight is about relational connection. Nonverbal communication is really a deep part of connecting with another human being. And I'm going to have Dr. Desri Dokes speak into it a little bit. His actual specialty is the psychology of showing up and speaking into the lives of other people, and what he calls really engagement. I love that word, engagement. And one of the ways that we can be fully engaged with other humans is our nonverbal communication. So tonight, as we start, I want to pray, and then we're going to get started. But I want to encourage you, if you have not had a chance to register for Leadership 204, I would encourage you to do that. May 30th, in 3 weeks, May 30th, we're going to begin a 5-week course on the leadership from the image of God. All human beings have been created in the image of God, and we're going to come from a very biblical foundation, a theology, the study of God, theos meaning God, and ology meaning the study of God and how he created human beings to order his world and to have authority in his world and to lead in his world from his image. And that simply means this: we are a reflection of God's character into creation. We are a mirror. Human beings are what we call the in-between people. We go between God and creation, and then we go between creation and God. Our place as his highest creation is to be his image. We're the only thing in his creation made in his image. And we're going to spend 4 or 5 weeks having discussion about why that is essential to our leadership in the world. Because if we're going to be truly human, we've got to be like Jesus, who is the true human. And so we're going to do a few weeks on that. You're not going to want to miss it. Pastor Eric Lucetta is going to be here. We're going to spend 4 weeks in a row on that. And then a 5th week, we're probably going to do a Q&A. And we're going to talk from that as well. I want to give us one quick scripture. We've been in the book Communicating for a Change by Andy Stanley. And I want to give you one scripture that is vital to our leadership. Matthew chapter 7, verse 12 in the Message. It says this: "Here is a simple guide for behavior. Ask yourself what you want people to do for you, and then grab the initiative and do it for them." And I'm going to add a little bit of a phrase. This is me adding this phrase. First. Do it for them before they do it for you. So in leadership, leaders go first. We eat last, but we go first. All right? Our job as leaders is to initiate, is to set the temperature. And so Jesus literally tells us, he's like, hey, whatever you want somebody to do for you, you do it for them, and do it before they do it for you. Initiate the process. Initiate the transformation. Initiate the connection. And so this entire 4 weeks on communication can be summed up in this verse. However you want somebody to communicate with you, communicate with them. However you want somebody to talk to you, talk to them. Whatever tone you want your spouse to take with you, take with them. However you want to talk to a colleague or a business partner, talk to them. So for all of us, we have the option, we have the opportunity, and really, Jesus calls us the golden rule. He calls us to treat others as we would want to be treated. And I can't think of a better way to really sum up communication than to say how we want to be communicated to is how we should communicate with others. And so tonight, we are going to do nonverbal communication to start off. I have 7 people who are here live in the room with us, and we're going to start off with them. So if I could have all 7 of those people come up and take a seat right here on the stage, here's what we're going to do. Y'all can go ahead and come up now. Make your way to the front, and you can have a seat right here. Pick one of these seats. We are going to do an activity, and the activity is called 3 at a time. 3 at a time. So if you would have a seat for me in any one of these chairs, we're going to play an activity called 3 at a time. And this is going to be, we're going to see how good their skills are at nonverbal communication. Dr. Dokes, you ready? I like this game. This is going to be fun, okay? So here are the rules. Here are the rules. All 7 of these wonderful people right here are going to be communicating with one another. The one rule is they're not allowed to speak and use words. The one rule is they cannot speak and use words. So they're going to communicate non-verbally to one another. Now, if I could have Juan, if you would stand. Myra, if you would stand. Christine, if you would stand. All right. So now, this is what we call 3 at a time. 3 at a time out of the 7 are going to be standing. We're going to play music here in just a moment. I got my DJ Manny back there. Appreciate you, buddy. DJ Manny's in the booth. So what we're going to do is we're going to play a little bit of music, not too loud, a little bit of music, and I'm going to give them a 10-second countdown. After 10 seconds, I'm going to say switch. You 3 have to be seated. 3 other people have to stand. But you're not allowed to use words to figure out who's going to stand and who's going to stay seated. Everybody with me? So you have to communicate with one another without words to figure out which 3 of you, 4 that are seated, are going to stand, and you 3 have to be seated. Now, you lose as a team if more than 3 people stand. You with me? Okay, everybody clear on the rules? All right, so 3 at a time. Only 3 people at a time can be standing. So you're going to have 10 seconds to communicate non-verbally to one another about who's going to stand and who's going to sit. Manny, are we ready? Do we want to do a practice run? Yes. Let's do one 10-second practice run. Manny, you got some music for me? All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to do one practice run. We're going to count down from, I'm going to count down from Tim. It's going to be a little quicker than a 10-second. But go ahead and practice. Okay, here we go. On your mark, get set. 10, 9, 8, 7. Can't use words. Can't use words. Okay, all right, let's do it again. Do it again. All right, here we go. Just stand. You got to stay at your chair. Stay at your chair, Myra. If you'll stay standing, stay at your chair. Okay, can't speak, can't use words, only nonverbal communication. Okay? You stay at your chair. The only thing you're going to do is either sit down or stand up. You with me? All right, here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7. Okay, right during this time, you four have to be communicating with one another non-verbally to see who stands. Only 3 can stand at a time. So Sharon, your job is to communicate with all of them to see which ones are going to stand and which ones are going to stay seated. And then the 3 of you know you have to sit, right? Because you can't remain standing. Okay. All right, here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, switch. All right, 4 standing, you'd be out. So Myra, in that moment, you would just have a seat right where you are, okay? There you go. Okay, perfect. All right, here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. Not yet. Not till I say switch. Not till I say switch. Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, switch. Y'all don't have to switch chairs. Just when I mean switch, I mean just either sit down or stand up, okay? So you'll just stay right at the chair you're at. Don't move from the chair you're at. You're either standing up or sitting down, okay? So I have 2 standing up. We need 1 more. Okay, there we go. All right, here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, switch. Go! You only hit 2. Okay, let's do it again. See? All right, here we go. Y'all got to communicate with one another. Communicate with one another. Here we go. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, switch. Oh, we only got 2. All right. You got to have 3 at a time. Okay. All right. Everybody have a seat. Have a seat. Manny, stop the music for me. All right. What do we need? Everybody here in the room, what do we need? What do we need? Yes, sir. Do you feel like, hold on, do you feel like they know what the rules are?
No.
Okay.
They do not know what the rules are.
Who needs to communicate that better?
The person that's directing them to play the game.
Yes, I agree. I agree. Wholeheartedly. I agree. We all learned that I was not clear, right? Okay. Yeah, yeah. Here's what we're going to do. Thank you. What were you going to say real quick?
I was going to say they need someone in charge.
They need somebody in charge. Okay, all right. So let's go through it one more time. All 7 of you are going to stay at the seat you're at. You're not going to switch chairs. You're just going to switch. When I say switch, that means you either stand up or you sit down. All right? No verbal communication, not with your words, okay? You can only do nonverbal communication to pick who's going to be standing and who's going to be sitting. Now, I'm going to lower it. Instead of 10 seconds, I'm going to go with 5. Is that good? 10 feels like it's a long time, doesn't it? Yeah. 100, 99, 90. I'm just kidding. All right. Are y'all comfortable now with what we're doing? Okay, let's do it one more time, Mr. Manny. DJ Manny, if you could, do it for us. All right, here we go. I need 3 of you to stand, 3 of you to stand, 3 of you to stand. Very good. All right, here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, switch. Oh, Sharon. All right, here we go. Okay, here we go. 5, 4, stay standing. 3, 2, 1, switch. Good. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, switch. Only 2. We got to have 3. All right, here we go. Let's stay with that, okay? Let's stay with that. Let's do it one more time. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, switch. All right, look at each other. Communicate. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch. All right. One more time. Here we go. I need 3 of you standing. There we go. Okay. All right, here we go. I'm going to count down from 7. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Switch. All right. Feedback from anyone in here. What's
Everybody's trying to tell everybody else what to do, and there's not one particular person in charge up there. Everybody's kind of looking around, and somebody needs to designate themselves as the 4 that's going to do it each and every time.
all right?
That's sitting down, because we all are standing up, rather. But see, there's too many people doing that.
Yeah. All right. So what the feedback you're getting is pick one leader. All right. Pick one person given direction. One person given direction. Yes, sir.
The gentleman in the blue shirt right there, if y'all were watching, he would either say up or down, and the rest of them, if y'all would have kept an eye on him, it would have been real easy.
Okay. All right. All right, y'all give him a hand. That's tough, isn't it? That's tough. It's a tough challenge. I mean, I feel responsible for the first half. I'm gonna be honest. I feel responsible for the first half that I didn't explain it really well. But I appreciate y'all doing that. Now notice nonverbal communication, even though we do it all the time, we don't realize how important nonverbal communication is because we lean on our words. And we go, well, I said the words, right? I said the words. So my wife and I have been at, public functions. We've been at events. We've been at wedding receptions. And if you've ever been in an intimate relationship with somebody and they give you that look, it's time to go. Y'all with me? It's time to go. I am very much the outgoing one of us, and Tara's very much the introvert. And her battery is drained a lot of times by a lot of social interaction. Who's an introvert in here, and who gets their battery drained by a lot of social interaction? Raise your hand real high. Anybody online? Put it in the chat if you're an introvert. You can say it. Put it in the chat if you're an introvert. I'm an extrovert. And so what happens is a lot of times when I'm around people, I get energized. It actually recharges my batteries. So a lot of times, we'll be sitting at dinner or something like that, and she'll be done. And she'll give me that look. And I'm like, we gotta go. Nonverbal communication, right? Nonverbal communication. You're sitting in a meeting, okay? And you're having a conversation with somebody and they're doing this. What does this say? Are they listening to anything you have to say? We used to have this rule when my buddies in college, we had cell phones. We would put our cell phones in the middle of the table. First person to touch their cell phone in the dinner had to pay for dinner. It's a great one. I love that one. I never touched my phone. I was like, I don't have that kind of money. No way. But here's the thing. Communication leads to connection. Communication leads to connection. If you want to take notes, communication leads to connection. And connection leads to chemistry. Great teams, groups, couples, churches, businesses, staffs, your communication, whether verbal or nonverbal, leads to connection. And your connection leads to team chemistry. What is team chemistry? Team chemistry is the way in which you can accomplish a goal. You can solve problems. You can create a service and or a product to serve people. You create team chemistry. My uncle was a Navy SEAL. My Uncle Rob was a Navy SEAL. He talked about this a lot. Navy SEAL training was unbelievable. And they would break people into 6-man groups, and they would go through these unbelievably difficult weeks. And what they would do is they would do these very simple activities. One of them was a 125-pound telephone pole that 6 people would have to hold over their head for an hour and a half. So what you would do is you would communicate with one another. How do you distribute the weight? How do you distribute because you get tired. Everybody gets tired. How do you function as a team? And so what they would do is the trust, the work, all of that. It was communication. It was relational communication. A lot of it was nonverbal because you were exhausted. So a lot of times just getting the words out were tough. So he would talk about that. And one of the things that happens is when you go through things that are difficult as a team, but you're solving problems, is you're building team chemistry. And here's the thing about leadership. A lot of times on a team, one of the things that I see is people talk about, y'all heard the buzzword culture, build culture into your business, build culture into your leadership, build culture, all of that. Culture is a good thing. That's great. You're going to have, let me say it like this, you're going to have a culture. Whether it's by default or by design, you're going to have a team culture. But here's the thing. Here's what the misconception is. A lot of times we see, like in the last 20, 25 years, we see all these giants. We see Google, we see Apple, we see all the things. You go to Google and they've got like nap pods and like ping pong and bagel stands and all of that. That's not culture, all right? Having a ping pong table, people will buy video games and ping pong tables and they'll be like, this is our culture. I'm like, that's not culture. Can we be honest? That's fun, and you can do that as a team. But culture comes with chemistry, and a lot of times, chemistry on a team isn't necessarily all the like fun stuff. Chemistry and culture comes with solving problems and working as a team. You have a common goal, you have a common desire. So when you work as a team and communicate, you create chemistry. And solving problems and serving people is actually what drives the team, and you do that with mostly nonverbal communication. One misconception, I love this quote, one misconception about highly successful groups is that they're happy, lighthearted places. This is actually mostly not the case. If you study the data, it's not just happy-go-lucky, everybody smiles all the time, you go to movies, you play ping pong, you have pizza parties. That's not how you build a highly successful group. But there is energy and there is engagement, and the members are oriented less around achieving their own happiness and more around solving hard problems together. This is one of those cool things about communication, is when you communicate both verbally and non-verbally, when you create a sense of belonging, these are what we call belonging cues. When you create a sense of belonging, what you're doing is you're actually building team chemistry because people feel like they're a part. They feel like their input matters. They feel like their opinion matters. They feel like their skill level matters. They feel like their thoughts and ideas matter. And so for us, learning to communicate is more than just the words that we speak, more than just the words that we speak. Here's what we're going to do. I want us to do a quick activity, okay? Right at your tables right here, or those of you online. I want us to take this list. We have a list. So here's the activity. You're stranded on a desert island, okay? You're stranded on a desert island. This is a list of things that you could possibly have with you on the island. You can only pick 5 of them. Pick 5 of them. So you have this list. If you're online and you're watching, you want to put it in the chat, put your 5 in the chat. We're going to go 2 minutes. Pick your 5 things. Those of you at tables here in the room, talk with your group. This is a group activity. Talk with your group. You pick 5 out of this list and tell us which 5 you would pick and why. All right? So let's go ahead and go now. 2 minutes. Those of you online, pick which 5 you would pick. Those of us in the room, let's pick our 5, and then we'll come back in 2 minutes.
Toilet paper, flashlight, compass, rope, knife, matches, hiking boots, or volleyball. Which ones would you all pick? Let me see what it is saying in the chat. Which
For
one?
desert island?
Yes, you're stranded on a desert island. You're stranded on a desert island. What are these 5 things would you pick? 5. Elite.
Where's the safety pin?
I'm sorry?
Where's the safety pin?
It's
Usually
not.
Usually there's a safety pin.
Well, on this list, there's not a safety pin. So you have the list of these, and you have to pick from these 5. You have to pick 5 from this list.
Well, it's
And-
no good having a fishing pole if you don't have a hook.
Well, I get it, but
Hey, I've been there. I'm a survivalist. I know which 5.
Great, thank you. Sandra says flare, boots, water. Sorry, the chat went up. Flare, boots, water, purifier, tarp, and a fishing pole. Kathy says water, purifier, toilet paper, rope, compass, and knife. Bria says tarp for shelter and catching, holding rain, fishing pole, flare, knife, and rope. Brandy says flare, TP, toilet paper, flashlight, knife, and matches.
Hey, you can use a leaf for toilet paper.
Yes, you can.
We're orienting survivalists here.
Correct.
My dad taught me well.
Correct. Water, flashlight, knife, tent, and matches.
All right, and we're back. We are back. All right, how many of you were able to choose 5? How many of you were able to choose 5? How many tables in here? Very cool. And those of you online, I hope that you were able to choose 5 as well. Out of this list, you have 5 items that you can hold on to. And Dr. Dokes, if you don't mind, would you come up for me and have a seat in one of these chairs? And then we're going to call up. I need one person from one of our tables, from one of our teams. One person. You want to come up? All right. Here's what I want you to do. I want you to come up and I want you to share what your list of 5 things is and why you picked those things, why you and Sharon picked those things. All right. You can sit right here next to Dr. Dokes and share with him.
Okay.
Share with him what 5 you picked and why. If you don't mind just looking right at him, tell him what you think.
I picked a water purifier because you can't drink ocean water. I picked fishing pole so you can eat. I picked a tent so you have you have shelter. I picked a flare so you can get help and get off the island. And I picked matches so you can cook the fish.
What do you feel like he's giving you right now?
Attitude.
Attitude. That's good. What? Disgust. Disgust. I like it. All right, you'll give her a hand. Give her a hand. Give her a hand. Thank you. You can have a seat. All right. I'm going to give Dr. Dokes another emotion. I need one more person to come up and explain your 5. I need somebody to come up and explain your 5 very quickly. All right. All right. Actually, y'all give her a hand. So here's what I want you to do. Now that you know how we're doing it, I want you to list off your 5 and explain why you picked those. And then what I want you to do is I want you to answer to us about what emotion you think Dr. Dokes is giving you while you're having conversation with him. So he has an emotion on that card. He's going to visually give you that emotion from his face, and then you have to figure out what he's giving you. Yep, go ahead.
Number 1 is knife to me. To fish, to cut wood, to make fire, he's not listening to me. He's bored and he's away. Yeah. Oh, really? He's just saying, really?
Keep going. What else is on your list?
My second list, I said a tent, because I need shelter. I need, he's still bored. Still playing with that card.
All right, hold on.
Okay.
Dr. Dokes, what did you have? Calm.
Oh,
You had calm. Okay. Calm and relaxed.
But he's not reacting to my.
He's not reacting to you?
No.
Yeah, so if you're sitting having a conversation in a meeting,
Yes.
and you're let's say a colleague or a boss tells you, hey, I need you to go collect some information, come back, bring it to me, and explain it to me. If they're doing this, what are you going to be doing?
He's not paying attention to me. Right now, he's just like waiting, but not happy.
How confident would you be continuing the conversation?
I wouldn't be.
Right.
I would not be.
Would you verbalize it to him?
Well, I would say maybe I'm not confrontational.
Not confrontational?
No.
It's okay.
But I probably would say, well, this I choose a knife, I choose the tent, and do you understand me?
All right, y'all give her a hand, give her a hand, give her a hand. It's tough. Thank you, thank you. Stay up here with me. So, here's what happened. There was a group of executives. MIT has a human dynamics lab. MIT they do this great lab where they study human behavior, and one of the things they do is they study communication, both verbal and nonverbal. And they did this huge study where they brought in about 20 to 25 different companies that wanted to make a pitch to a group of executives. And what they did was they had each company come in, make a pitch to the executives, and then the executives would choose and put in order who would win angel investments. So they had angel investors. And so they did this study, and what they found was that the lab, the team, the staff there at the lab, his name is Alex Pinfold, is the one who runs the whole thing. His team was able to put in order and rank the different projects, the different companies that came in and made their proposal. They were able to almost perfectly rank and figure out which companies these executives would pick and in what order. Based on not the information and the content, but based on the relational cues that the executives were giving them. So, they did this, and I love this word, the sociometers, that just means the relational metrics of the room, were helping the staff at the lab see which ones the executives actually liked and which ones they didn't. And here's what happened. They thought, I want you to speak into this, they thought the executives, and they actually talked to this group of executives afterwards, and what the executives were thinking in their mind were rational questions when the MIT lab actually let them know that it was relational questions that really were going through their minds that they didn't even understand. So the first set of questions, the rational questions were, how original is this idea? How does it fit the current market? And how well developed is this plan? So the executives said those were the questions that they thought they had in their mind. And what the MIT lab was able to show them was they were actually choosing the rank of each proposal and who was going to get the angel investments based on three questions. How much does this person believe in their idea? How much does this person believe in their idea? Number two, how confident are they when they're speaking? And number three, how determined are they to make this work? You specialize in this, in really human engagement is your area, psychology of human engagement. Talk to us about what this means in nonverbal communication and really showing up fully as yourself when you feel safe.
Yeah, so this is extremely important. Most of the relationships that we have or the people we have in our spaces, you ever heard, I'll back up. You ever heard something that a passage that said, a picture speaks how many words? 1,000 words. Because that picture, you get the opportunity to determine what that picture is actually speaking. You are the beholder of that picture. No one is telling you what that picture means. So when people are in your presence, you're constantly looking for their body language to determine what they really mean about what they're saying. What if someone said, you know I love you? You said, I don't think so. It's because they were frowning when they said those words. So as human beings, we have a need, and you heard Pastor Jeremy just say it a few minutes ago, we want to be connected, right? You can be paying all of our bills. You can be giving us 2 Mercedes every week. You can be putting us in 10,000 square feet homes. But if you're not connected to us, we have an issue with that. And so when we are in each other's presence, psychologically, we're looking for whatever that connection is. Most people want to feel safe in a space.
That's right.
They want to be respected in a space. They want to be heard in a space. And then eventually they want to be able to tell the truth in a space. Well, Dr. Dokes, what does that mean to tell the truth in a space? That means they want to be able to talk without feeling that they're going to be retaliated against. They actually want to tell you the truth about their day, but you won't allow them because of probably nonverbal cues. They've tried to do it in the past, and depending on how you acted, they decided not to tell you things like that in the future.
Yeah.
So people are constantly looking at you to determine what you think about them, and whether you're at work or in your personal relationships, your spouses or whoever they happen to be are watching you to determine your full length of who you are, to determine how you move your head, how your facial expressions, whether you frown or whether your smile is up or down, right? Whether you're fidgety in a seat, right? That tells us something about the human nature. It simply says that that you are either paying attention to me and you really like what I'm doing, or you do not. And you say, no, I like that idea. Well, I couldn't tell. But I told you I liked it. Yeah,
Right.
but I couldn't tell.
Right.
Right? So we are constantly looking for those nonverbal cues, and those nonverbal cues is what causes us to feel psychologically safe before we ever say a word.
That's right.
Right? You ever been to someone's home and you knock on the door and they come to the door, but they stand in the frame of the door, they never move? You don't feel like you're safe to go in.
Right.
So you won't move in that direction until they do this. Come on in, right? And so in psychological safety spaces, is not just about speaking so that you don't feel like you're going to get retaliated against, but do you create an atmosphere for people to walk into and be able to communicate with you, be able to connect with you so that they can have chemistry with you? Are you creating that atmosphere? In relationships and marriages, if you probably check the marriages out as far as people getting divorces or going to see therapy or whatever, you're going to find a lot of times that there is little connection, real connection there. The
Right.
chemistry is not at the deepest possible level, so they don't feel psychologically safe.
Right.
And so therefore, they won't share all of who they are. You talked about showing up. They won't show up at 100%. They'll show it at some number, but it will not be 100% until you make me feel completely safe about being in that space. So hopefully.
I love that. I love that. Stay up here with me. So this is the question we're answering tonight. And all human beings ask this question whether we realize it or not. If you're on a team, in a family, in a church, in a business, on a staff, you're answering in your heart, you're answering one question. Is it safe here to give my maximum effort? Is it safe here to give my maximum effort? Everybody wants to give their maximum effort. That's human nature. And the question is, am I safe here? And as Dr. Doak said, that phrase, and you've probably heard it a lot here lately in the marketplace, is psychological safety. There's a lot of training happening. There's a lot of workshops, a lot of seminars, a lot of conferences. People are talking about belonging cues, and psychological safety. They did thank you, Dr. Dokes. I appreciate it. Y'all give Dr. Dokes a hand. So we'll come back. I want to ask you another question here in just a moment, Dr. Dokes. But there was a study done by the same exact MIT Human Dynamics Lab. And they did a study with 46 couples combinations. They took 46 executives, HR executives, and their employees, and they did negotiations, compensation, vacation, bonus, all of those things. 46 different groups, duos of people from different companies, and they studied them. And here's what they said. The negotiation was decided, this is their data, the negotiation was decided in the first 3 minutes with nonverbal cues. Yep. The results of the negotiations between executives and employees had virtually nothing to do with the actual discussion and the words used. They could almost perfectly, they could predict how the negotiation was going to go the moment the employee walks in the room and has a seat within the first 3 minutes. Because if you're negotiating, and if we're being honest, business, leadership, this is a negotiation. Yeah. That's what it is. Communication is negotiation. And if you're a human being and you're walking in a room, the one question you're asking, especially if you're negotiating your own compensation, is it safe for me to be as honest as I want to be? Right? We're asking that question. It's the same if you're having a really intense conversation with somebody you love. You want to know, is it safe to be completely honest with what I think and feel? Isn't it? You want to know, is it safe for me to fully show up, to give my maximum effort? And so when we're thinking about having conversation with other people, there's a couple of things. There's a list here that I want to share with you, and I've got a couple lists tonight before we go into our breakouts here in just a little bit. Here's the first one. In nonverbal communication, in your belonging cues with people around you as human beings, there are 3 basic qualities. Number 1, people are wondering, what is the energy that I'm getting? What is the energy that I'm getting? How is this person giving me some sort of physical energy? Their facial expressions, their body language, what is the energy they are trying to transfer back and forth with me? That's number 1. Number 2, individualization. Does this person see me as a unique human, or are they talking to me like a number? Is this person talking to me as a unique individual? And number 3, one of the other basic qualities of nonverbal communication and belonging cues is future orientation. That means simply this: what potential reconnection could we have? You're deciding in your mind within seconds of having an interaction with somebody if you would be inclined to do it again. You ever had a conversation with somebody and in the first 30 seconds you're like, I wish I was somewhere else right now? Yeah, it's because it can be awkward and you go, I don't want to have a conversation like this again. So what you're doing is you're actually putting that in future orientation. That phrase just simply means, what would our future connections look like? And we as humans are deciding that. And so again, as Jesus said in Matthew 7:12, we should, whatever we want to receive, we should give in our nonverbal cues. One of my friends, and I got to tell you a story real quick. One of my buddies, I love this. He's one of those kind of guys, every time he sees me, he's like, hey, what's up? This is the energy he gives me. You know how it makes me feel when I walk in a room and that person goes, yeah, Marrone. That's what he always uses, my last name. He's like, Marrone. You know how important that makes me feel? It's like, whatever room I'm in, I want that person there, right? Like, you ever thought about what would be your theme song if you walked in a room? Every time you walked in a room, somebody played a theme song. You ever thought about that? Well, for me, it's like, who would I want? Who would I want in that room welcoming me into the room? Because that's what it means to be human, right? Right? Never go where you're tolerated, go where you're celebrated. Spend time not where you're tolerated, but where you're celebrated. And so he just always does that. And so it's like, I know every time I see him, I'm going to get this Marrone. And it's my favorite thing. Now, I'm not saying, Juan, at MD Anderson, that you need to do that. I'm just saying, whatever energy you want, give that. Whatever nonverbal cues you want, give that. Whatever belonging cues you want, give that. Give those things. Here's the thing. This is what happens when we give people great positive belonging cues, nonverbal communication that benefits them. This is what they decide in their mind. Here is a safe place to give effort. This is a safe place to give my effort. This is a safe place for me to walk out how I feel, what I think, to give my input. And let me tell you, by the way, these sections of different books that I've read have a lot to do with some of the most intricate organizations on the planet, especially in the military, places, groups like Navy SEALs and things like that. Because in my mind, I'll be honest with you, in my mind, there's a part of me that's like, Can I be honest? If I'm listening to talks like this 20 years ago, I'm like, this is sort of the emotional, mushy stuff. I'm just being honest. Sometimes in me, I'm like, man, I'm going to show up and I'm going to give effort, and I want to connect with whoever's there, and I want us to accomplish whatever we have on the list. I'm not worried about if they like me, I like them, right? That's never been like, I need everybody to like me. I'm like, let's show up, let's do what we need to do. This is what we've been asked to do, or this is where we're going to serve, right? But here's what I didn't understand. I didn't understand that we are not robots as human beings. I know that sounds weird to confess. But there was so much in me that I had trouble with that. I had trouble with going, yeah, I want to kind of feel like I belong. It wasn't just show up and be a robot and do my skill and do my part for the business and all of that and accomplish the task. And as I've gotten older, I've realized how much that connection piece and being a human being with other human beings matters. Even in some of the, as I would define, toughest organizations on planet Earth. They absolutely know that you have to belong. You have to feel a sense of connection and even emotional connection with other human beings. And there's a part of me that struggled with that. Because I'm like, no, let's show up and do our job. My wiring is do your job. That doesn't work at a church, by the way. So I've had to learn over the years, I've had to learn how to connect with people. I've had to learn all the stuff that we talk about and that I get up and talk about. I've had to learn this. Thank God for my wife. I've had to learn from other people to say, I've got to open my heart. I've got to understand empathy. I've got to understand listening better. I've got to understand the emotional connection and belonging. And asking somebody in the middle of a meeting who's brand new to our team, hey, what do you think? Let me tell you something. You want to make a brand new team member to your team feel really connected? Ask them in a meeting, what do you think? And just listen. And so for me, this was tough. But the more I've seen other people in leadership and the more I've practiced it myself, I've seen the fruit of it. I'm like, I don't ever want to go back to that mindset of like, I'm just a robot that shows up and does my job. I want to be the kind of person that practices these things and makes you feel like you belong. Because that matters to us, doesn't it? It matters that we feel like we're doing something important. And the emotional connection and the belonging and all of that is essential to that. Where I thought it wasn't. I thought it was, man, let's just show up. We've committed to this. Let's do our thing. And let's accomplish something. But all of it, we can't be robots. And anyways, so I'm learning myself. And if you're learning this, I pray that you would help teach me more. I pray that you would help draw it out of me because I need that. I need that. And if you've never heard this or you've never learned this or you've never read stuff like this, it really took me a long time to embrace the idea of a lot of these things. Because I felt like if there's any one word, Dr. Dokes, it was the mushy part. I did. But I learned to be honest with you, reading the scriptures, Jesus showed connection and belonging with human beings. And I learned through that to say, if it's good enough for the Savior, then I need to be doing it myself. Amen? I need to be making those connections. The content matters, but the content doesn't matter nearly as much as those belonging cues. It doesn't matter nearly as much. Dr. Dokes, I'm going to ask you this question. We've got just a couple minutes, and we're going to go to breakouts here in just a moment. So if you're online right now, stay with us because we're going to go to breakouts and have a great discussion about it. Dr. Dokes, I'm going to ask you one simple question. In the idea of creating psychological safety, if you could, and I know I'm going to ask you to boil it down. If you could boil it down to one really core good thought or idea about psychological safety in a leadership team, in a staff, in a business, in a family. If you could boil it down to some core thing, what's one piece of advice you would give us tonight to help us really engage with our teams or families in creating psychological safety to give people that place to give effort?
Allowing yourself to be vulnerable and accept mistakes of others, because they are themselves being vulnerable. One of the challenges that we have is that we never make mistakes. So we say, or we don't say, right? So we go on as though we have never made a mistake. If somebody do us wrong, we jump on them because they violated something. But maybe they were being vulnerable and sharing with you what the challenges are with them. And if you don't accept that vulnerability through conversation, we're not saying encourage bad behavior, but we are saying allow people the space to be able to show up at 100%. So if you allow them to be vulnerable, then they will share with you and you'd have a deeper connection. And then you in turn would be vulnerable, which means that you're not afraid to tell someone that you made a mistake, right? What we challenge with coming to Christ is the first thing he wants us to do is to own up to our mistakes, our sins. There now, when you do that, he's allowed to be able to come into you and to be able to take you to another place as the relationship is concerned. Well, imagine in your personal relationships, if I could come to you and tell you that, you know what, I made a mistake. And you go, well, I'm sorry to hear that. What happened? Right? I'm being vulnerable. I'm not pouring out of myself opposed to hiding in a closet and crying about it or telling somebody else about it. I'm telling you. So I would say the one thing is that in society, if we can learn to appreciate vulnerability of others, if we can learn to do that and then accept the fact that we ourselves make mistakes, I think we will go a lot further in our relationships, personal relationships with ourselves.
That's good.
Grace.
Yeah.
And then we will go further with those relationships that we have with others.
I love that. And I'm going to add real quick to that. The company 3M out of Minnesota. Anybody heard? Yeah, 3M, big, massive corporation. They used to do this when they first got started years ago in some of their divisions. They actually did this with their executives. They did what they called a brown bag lunch once a month. They had this massive wall where they had every person, including their executives and all their C-suite executives, they would go up once a month and write on the wall where they totally blew it that month, where everybody could see. So you had executives right next to the person sweeping the floors going, here's how I messed up this month. And they were honest, and everybody could see it. And it was like it created that space. I love that. Thank you. Thank you. I want to give you a couple of I guess, measuring factors. I like practical things. Here's a couple of measuring factors. Here's 5 things. You know, we talk about in business and in leadership, we talk about KPIs, we talk about all kinds of metrics. A lot of times you don't have metrics. A lot of times you don't have metrics for connection. You don't have metrics for belonging. You don't have metrics for the relational aspect of business. We have metrics for everything else, but not belonging a lot of times. So here's a couple that could be something that you could use. Maybe you use it, maybe you don't, maybe you tweak it. Number 1, 5 measurable factors of quality team performance. Number 1, everyone talks and listens in roughly equal measure. This is the research that the Human Dynamic Lab has done. They said great teams generally talk and listen in roughly equal measure, which means nobody dominates the conversation. Number 2, members of the team maintain eye contact. And I actually love the word that they used. I shortened it. Aggressive eye contact. Like, I don't know what aggressive eye contact means. Like, but it comes across, you know? They maintain eye contact. Number 3, members communicate directly with one another, not just with the team leader, especially in meetings. We used to have that all the time. Tara and I worked for an organization years ago where the leader, he and his wife worked together. And we would sit in meetings, and she would kind of lean over and like whisper in his ear as people were talking in the room. And he would always, it drove him nuts. And he would go, talk to the whole team. Talk to the team. Talk to the every meeting. Talk to the team. And so he was like, talk to them, not just to me. Talk to them. because what he was doing was he understood that chemistry and connection needed to be every person with the ability to talk to every other person on the team. And so what happens sometimes as leaders is we can have all the attention directed toward us, or we ask a question in a meeting, it's all directed back toward us. And it's like, no, talk directly to your teammate because you build chemistry. Number 4, members carry on side conversations within the team. Let me say it like this, healthy side conversations within the team, okay? They carry on. In a team, a lot of times you're building chemistry with one another to where you're able to talk to anybody else on the team at any point about anything. That's really important. That's hard to do. Can we be honest? That's really hard to do. That's really hard to do. Because a lot of times people have an issue, they think they have to go directly to the leader. I'm like, no. Matthew 18, Jesus said, if you have any issue with your brother or sister, go directly to them. Have a conversation. Number 5, members go exploring and they bring back information to share with the others. Grow, listen, read, learn. Bring something back that benefits the entire group. So those are 5 measurable factors of quality team performance. Quality team performance. Non-verbal belonging cues are essential to building chemistry with one another. Some of that is verbal, but I think listening, eye contact, like showing yourself, showing up as yourself fully, visibly, is really important. All right? And yes. All right, we have a really important statement. Here we go. And then we're going to go to breakouts in just a moment. Go for it.
I have to say, according to all this you're saying, I belong to the usher department here at Lakewood, and we have the meetings before the service at 11 o'clock. He works there too. And I'm kind of new, but leadership is them letting everybody talks, everybody does eye contact, everybody can speak with each one another. So I'm so proud. I feel that I belong, and this is a great church, and I'm so proud to be part of it.
Well, praise
and
God.
This is the class.
Thank you.
The church does that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. And I will share that with our team. Those are 5 measurable factors. If you want to put them as you can put them as that. The last thing is, if you're looking for ways to get conversation started with your team, here's a couple of random ones, but I think these are good exercises. Get with your team and ask them these couple of things, these 3 things. The final thing, and then we're going to go to breakouts, and then we'll finish in the room as well. Manny, there you go. Team exercises for nonverbal cues. Team exercises for nonverbal cues. Number 1, let's upset our thinking. Let's change and upset our paradigm. Let's upset our thinking by eliminating one of our programs, events, or initiatives by the end of the week. Just pick a random thing and eliminate it. We were doing this years ago at a church we were at. They wanted to change the name of the church. I had grown up in the church organization. This was one of the affiliate churches of this organization. It was called Church on the Rock. My father was the very first youth pastor of it in 1980. I was born into it. It was a very important part of my life growing up. And the church I was at years ago, about 16, 17 years ago, that was a church that was named that, and they wanted to change the name. And in the middle of the meeting where our senior pastor proposed the idea that he and his wife had been praying about, our team, it was not a good reaction to them wanting to change the name of the church. And can I be honest, I was shocked to see how much they didn't understand why it was so vital to us that it was changing. And I didn't realize how emotional it would be for me, having been born into that church movement, how emotional it would be for me to see the name of our church changed. And we did that. We did that very first one. And they got this, it went from a 30-minute meeting to a 3.5-hour meeting, and by the time we left, it was 50-50 on whether they were going to change the name. We ended up changing it. But they learned a lesson, and I learned a lesson about myself. And it was such a good, healthy conversation. Because can I be honest? At the end of the day, I think it was good that we changed the name. We were no longer affiliated with that organization. We needed to change it and go in a different direction. And your name at a church, your name is your vision. Your name is your vision. We know this about marketing. Your experience with an organization, you put that emotional experience with whatever name is there. So we did that, and it was so impactful, that discussion. And so if you ever wanted to test just the nonverbal reactions of your group or your team, change something or talk about changing something. You don't even have to change it. Just initiate the conversation. Number 2, everyone needs a new title by the start of next quarter. Everyone on this team needs a new title. Bring your new title and a suggestion for at least one other team member's new title. Even if you don't change it, just initiate the conversation and see how the team responds. Number 3, you have 1 hour. I love this one. You have 1 hour to figure out how to communicate to our investors, volunteers, or customers what we do and how we're valuable to them, and you can't use words. That would be tough. But here's what I love. Test your team. See how creative they are at explaining what you do without words. See if they can demonstrate to you. That'd be such a cool experiment, wouldn't it? No? Okay, just me? I like the awkward. But I think these are some ways to get conversations going. And here's what happens. When you have good conversation, when you have possible, can we be honest as humans, when you have conversations about change, you see how people non-verbally react. And it tells you how strong your connection and chemistry is as a team. And that's a healthy thing to know about your organization. That's a really healthy thing to know. Where is our team chemistry? Because here's what we don't want to do. And I've been guilty of this so many times. You don't want to get to the place where your team reveals all of this under the surface tension in the chemistry that you didn't know was there because one really intense moment comes or conversation comes and you had no idea. And then for some people on the team, it's too late, right? It's too late. I'm out. So for us, what's a good, healthy way to test, to really see where the belonging is, where the chemistry is of your team? You can do that with nonverbal cue metrics. So try them if you want to try them, or tweak them if you want to tweak them, or you can go on Google and look up yourself and just see. Because it's the same thing with relationships at home, it's the same thing with your family, it's the same thing with a romantic relationship or a spouse, it's the same thing. You ask a really good question, you have a really tough situation, it will reveal to you where your chemistry is. And that's a really important metric to understand as leaders. Amen? Amen. All right, here's what we're going to do. All of you that are online, I just want to say thank you for staying with us. I appreciate everybody in the room playing along tonight as some of the activities we've done. And I want you to answer one simple question as we finish this course. And the question is this: what impacted you most about tonight's conversation or the last 3 weeks? What impacted you the most? And what's one thing you could take away from this? And I ask the same question of those of us in the room. So go ahead and go now. We love you. We will see you May 30th right here for Leadership 204, Leading from the Image of God with Eric Lucetta. We'll see you in just a few weeks. All right. I wanted to ask you all the same question. Is there anything tonight that was, let me ask this. Is there anything tonight